Yes.
Good morning, students. We had been discussing class and objects. Let us recall the concepts. In order to learn the programming language, that is C++ language, we had come across some simple programs like addition of two integers, simple interest, and swapping of two numbers. In these programs, we had taken variables of basic data type like integer, float, char, double, isn't it? But by using only these basic data types, it is very difficult to handle real-time problems. So user need to create his own data type according to their requirement. For example, for gaming for softwares and student database, employee database. For these real-time problems, one has to create their own data type according to their requirement. In C++, we have some keywords to create our own data type, that is class, structure, enum and union. Among these, we already discussed structure, how to use structure to create our own data type. Similarly, class is also a keyword which is used to create our own data type. In class, we have more facilities than structure, like access specifiers, member functions, data members, isn't it? But in structure, we have taken only a variables as a member of a structure. See, very first thing, the defining class. What is mean by defining a class? Defining class is nothing but creating our own data type. Namde data type na create madodu andre we have to define class. So you must know the syntax. You have to know the rules how to define a class. See, class is a keyword. It should be in a lowercase space class name. Class name is any valid identifier. Private, public, protected. Right now you have to learn as it is. Private, public, protected. These are all called access specifiers. In every access specifiers, we can write the member functions and data members, collectively called as members. Let us know what is member. Member, it includes both data member and member function. Data member means property of an object. For example, if you take a student as an object, what are the properties? Student name, student register number, then a combination, date of birth. These are all the properties of a student. How to implement these properties? By means of declaring variables inside the class. So register number, name, reg and name are the properties. Right now I had taken only two properties, register number and name. So by declaring these variables, we can store these properties in this variable. And what are the functions performed on these variables? We may input the data, we may display data, we can modify the data. So some certain operations will be done on these data members. That's why we had taken a function inside the class. So this is the facility provided by class. What are the functions we performed on the data members we can take inside the class? Only these functions have rights to access these data. Whereas in structure, we had taken only variables in the class. Do you remember struct, structure, name, isn't it? There we didn't use any access specifier, private, public, like that. We had taken only a variables. Those are all called a members of structure, and it can be accessed through the main function, isn't it? So whereas in class, we have a facility, that is a function, some functions we can give rights to that function to access a private data. Let us know the features of access specifiers, private, public and protected. Private members cannot be accessed outside the class. It is accessed only through the member function of that class. And public members can be accessed both inside and outside the class. And protected is same as private. It is accessed within the class and also within the class, and it cannot be accessed outside. And private members cannot be inherited, protected members are inherited. Public members also inherited. So what are the things you need to write under each access specifier? First thing is where it has to access, where it cannot be accessed, whether it is inherited or not. Private members can be accessed only through the member function and friend function of the class. See, right now you have to learn this concept, this statement, friend function. It is a non-member function. We can make it as a friend to class so that it can access a private data. Okay, at this moment you have to learn the points. Private members can be accessed through the member function of the class and friend function. It cannot be accessed outside the class, and private members cannot be inherited. Only 3 points. Let us apply the same points to public. Public members can be accessed inside the class and also outside the class. A member function can also access public members, and a non-member function also can access. And public members can be inherited. Protected members. Protected members cannot be accessed outside the class, same as a private, and it can be accessed only through the member functions and friend function of the class. Protected members can be inherited. The only difference between private and protected is private members cannot be inherited, whereas protected members can be inherited. Inherited means acquiring the properties of one class to another class. So further we shall discuss in detail. Okay. I hope you know what is the role of private access specifier, public and protected. Let us know the define creating our own data type. Creating our own data type means defining a class. See, I have taken class as a keyword. I apply the same thing here. Class is a keyword. Class name is any valid identifier student. And in private there is no mandatory we must use all these access specifier. Whichever we want we can use. Private. In private section I have taken register number and name. In public section I have taken void input and void display. See, I must give the security for data. Data should not move around the system freely, and that means a register number name, it should not access the non-member function through the non-member function. Only the member functions of the class must access this data. That's why I have declared these two members in a private section and the functions must be in a public section. If I take functions in the private section, unless you call the function, it cannot execute, isn't it? Once you define a function, we have to call that function. Otherwise, the program will not execute. Then who has to call the functions? From main function, we are calling functions. So main is a non-member function. Non-member function cannot access a private data. If you define these functions in a private section, main function cannot access this. That's why at least one function must be there in the public section. That is void. I have taken two functions in the public section. Are you understanding? So in private section data members and public section member function. The input function is used to input data to these variables, and display function, it accesses the data and display on the screen. Now declaring a class. Declaring class is nothing but creating object. Creating object is creating a variable of class type. See, when you write this definition, that means your data type is ready. Okay, these type of data you can store in the variable. For example, I told you there is a basic data type int. If I take a variable int x